Alright, hello ladies and germs. Welcome to another XROADZ podcast, number 61. It's going to be another solo podcast. I want to tell you a story, a scary story. So, I'm going to light a candle. And why is this a scary story? Well, it's going to be about a near-death experience that yours truly had when I was in college, and I was on psychedelic drugs and alcohol, so which messes with your mind as well. Now I'm gonna light some sage too, some sweet grass, try to keep some good vibes in here. I don't know if y'all believe in that stuff. I like to think that, stuff like that might help cleanse the environment. Maybe it's just from my Native American heritage. I also got my wife one of these little Tibetan singing bowls. Check it. Dude, isn't that wild? Like, such a trippy sound. It sounds like, I don't even know. Sounds like some alien, man. Like, maybe that's what a UFO sounds like when it comes to pick you up. I don't know. Anyways, that's what my near-death experience felt like. Aliens picking me up, or God being like, yo, you coming home. Actually, not yet, because it was near death. Alright, so first of all, a little disclaimer. Not obviously recommending to do drugs because they almost killed me. So, this is in fact just a story. A true story about my life experience. And if you'd like me to turn it into a cartoon, sorry, I'm messing with my beard here. I've been working on dreadlocking the bottom of my beard, and it's a little off balance. Anyways, forget about my beard. What I was saying is, if you'd like me to turn this story into a cartoon, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure and hit that like and subscribe and the notification bell, because I have tons of stories about psychedelic experiences I've had, because I'm a drug addict and I've been sober over a year now. So yeah, they say you can get a lot higher without drugs than with drugs. So cheers to y'all. Sober. I'll be drinking some kombucha, Synergy, Sacred Life. 9 billion living probiotics in here. Can you believe that? 9 billion? That number is like astronomical. It's insane. Alright. So, let's get down to the nitty gritty, to the business. So here's how it all happened. If you haven't heard my podcast about my first LSD trip, make sure and go check it out, because it was a good trip. It was good and bad. It wasn't really a bad trip. It was just kind of scary at moments. Now this one was really scary. So I'm in Seattle, Washington, in college, and I got a couple sugar cubes of acid in my freezer. And my roommate opens up the freezer and he says, "What are these?" And I was like, "Oh, that's just some acid." He's like, "Oh, really? Let's do it." And I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." I didn't really plan on sharing the LSD with anybody, but I figured might as well enjoy this experience with somebody else. And me and my roommate had a lot of differences. But we could get along, especially after a few beers. Like, I was kind of the pothead hippie, and he was a little more, just straight up. Although I don't know if he was straight. Which doesn't really matter to me. I don't care what way you swing or your orientation. Anyways, beside the point. So we dropped this LSD. Start cracking a few cold beers. I'm like smoking some weed, smoking some cigarettes out of the dorm room window. I remember like sitting on the edge of the dorm room window, and we're on like, I don't remember what floor. Second, third, fourth. I don't remember. But we're watching this movie, The Illusionist, which really starts tripping me out because it starts making me feel like, reality is just an illusion. Like reality is not really real. And then when it really starts hitting me, I remember kind of like singing and grabbing the air. And my roommate was like, dude, stop. Your singing is really freaking me out. And when I started singing, I felt like a snake charmer or something. Like something was moving through me. When I was grabbing the air, it was like I was pulling into different dimensions because I would like grab the air and it would just turn into like rainbow checkerboards. It was so weird. I was totally like out of control. It was like I was in a trance and something was happening. So then he's like, let's go outside. I'm going to smoke a cigarette and get some air. So we go outside. And then I don't know what happened. I just lost my mind, I guess. It was, nighttime, probably like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. Downtown Seattle, Washington. It's not the most good vibes place in the world. Actually, it's pretty weird vibes. Kind of some bad vibes downtown Seattle. And I lost my mind. I don't know what happened, but I kind of came back into reality, and what was going through my mind was crash into reality. And I was running butt naked through the streets, head on into traffic. And there's cars just like swerving out of my way. I am so lucky I didn't get hit by a car and die. So I like just imagining that right now, like myself running naked through the streets, head on into traffic, and being that person in the car is like, oh my god, like who's this naked man running through the streets? Oh, Seattle, Washington. Ugh. Just another night. But yeah, that was me, that madman. I run up an exit ramp, and I don't know, it's like 20, 30 feet, 40 feet off the ground. I don't even remember. I climb up onto the edge. I look over the edge and I think to myself, if thou art to live, thou shalt be saved. And it was like I was gonna like try to kill myself, basically. Like I didn't want to like live anymore or something. I don't know. And I'd battled suicidal thoughts for a long time, very depressed, and kind of the reasons I would do these drugs was like searching for answers, searching for a meaning to life. And I jumped. Now they said I was trying to fly, but I definitely was not trying to fly. Like I knew I couldn't fly. But in my right mind, I would have never done any of that, and so I continue going through this trip, but this trip I had then, I hit the ground, like on my side, and landed in kind of a fetal position. And the next thing I remember happening was just blacked out, and I was following the light at the end of the tunnel. So I was going through the tunnel to the light. I finally made it to the light, and I felt like I was in heaven or like limbo or something. And there was these, I don't know if you would call them the Lords of Karma or some sort of, like, it felt almost like my family, like dead relatives, or it just felt like home. It felt like I'd been there before, and it was like warmth and nirvana. It was like absolute pure bliss. And they were kind of saying to me, like telepathically or something, I couldn't see anybody. It was just light. Like everybody and everything was light, including myself. It was just like souls. And they're like, you see this, Jake? You can have all of this. Like, all of this is waiting for you. This is yours. But you have to go back to Earth and fulfill your destiny and get your karma right. And the next thing I remember is I was like, my soul or my spirit was being hurled. It was like God threw me from the heavens. Like, rejected me. And, I was thrown through the cosmos. I could see myself traveling through the cosmos back to the planet. I could see my body laying in these like rose bushes or something. And I was like, oh shit, there's my body. I gotta go get back in that thing. And I'm just, laying there naked in the rose bushes in downtown Seattle. So, like, halfway dead, basically dead. I was gone. I was out of it. I was in the beyond. And I wake back up. I come to, and I thought I was in the Garden of Eden. I look at my body and I'm just like covered in cuts and blood. I'm bleeding. And I'm like looking to the sky, like looking at the moon and the stars and screaming like, why, God? Why did you let me do this? Why? And I know it was like my choice or something, but I felt like almost like it was supposed to happen, or like, oh, is this my destiny or my fate or something? Why did this happen? Was this meant to be? Was this meant to happen? Or was it just oh, bad choice, almost died? And so then I go into this kind of monkey mode, and I climb up this fence, like this steel fence, and I jump down. Oh, when I was on the top of the fence, all these crackheads downtown, like, oh my God, look at that guy. What's he doing? And I'm just down there, like, panicking and screaming, like, oh my God, what's going on? And next thing I know, I'm surrounded by cops. And I'm being rushed into an ambulance. And I'm just going in and out of consciousness. And as I'm going in and out of consciousness, laying on the stretcher, I'm going like up to these different levels of like the heavens or consciousness, where I'm in the clouds and I'm like talking to people and visiting friends and family, and I don't even really remember what we were talking about at all. But I remember sitting, like, it was almost like Nimbus clouds, like in Dragon Ball Z, where we're all sitting on these different clouds, like speaking to each other, and they're kind of like giving me guidance or something. And then I start, going through these phases where I'm on the stretcher again in the hospital. They're wheeling me in, and they got my mother on the phone. And I'm like, oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. I made this happen, and I let this happen. And happy Mother's Day. I think it was Mother's Day or her birthday. And that just felt so horrible. Yeah, it was Mother's Day. And so as I'm going in and out of consciousness, and they're like, he's speaking gibberish or speaking tongues, or you can't understand what he's saying. And I don't know what I was saying. It was just like blah 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 glory give that sim slow blah 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 makalaka hiki shukalaka monkalaka. And to me, I feel like it's like alien language or some sort of something. I don't know what it was. And I felt like my body was like the Mayan calendar or something. It felt like my body was like a tomb. And it was like, it felt like a transformer or like the Megazord from Power Rangers or something. Like it was going through the weirdest like changes of like coming back to reality, where everything was going through my head again, you know, all the animals, insects, cosmos, planets, alphabets, numbers, literally like everything in existence, my whole life, my childhood, even the beyond. And it's just all was rushing through my head, and I would keep going in and out of consciousness, and I'd wake up like getting CAT scanned, like going through these machines, getting hooked up and tested. And then I wake up the next morning, still naked, strapped down to a hospital bed with like IVs in me. And I'm like, you know, they're pumping me full of water and probably sedation because I was fucking like crazy. And there's a police officer there, and he's like, hell man, I picked you up last night. You were naked, like totally naked, running through the streets. And I was like, I know, I kind of remember that, and I'm still naked. And like, my wiener was like in a plastic cup, so I didn't like piss all over the place. And I just remember hollering to the nurse, because there's this female nurse like sitting right next to me, like doing stuff on the computer. And I'm like, oh, excuse me, miss, can you get me a blanket, please? Like, I don't want to be like totally exposed to everybody right now. And she said, oh yeah, sure, here you go. Are you doing okay? And I'm like, I'm coming back to it. And, you know, looking around, I'm still tripping. Like, I'm hallucinating. I felt like I was, like, in Atlantis or something. Like, the way that everything looked. It was just so unreal. It was out of this world. Now, I was naked. So I didn't have no clothes. So they gave me, like, paper clothes. Like, these blue paper clothes. Like I might have had hospital pants and a paper shirt or something. And they kind of just sent me on my way. I didn't even have shoes. I still had all these things stuck to me, all the stickies and my hospital wristband. And like, alright. I go to like check myself out. I couldn't find my way out of this hospital. I'm like walking around like lost, because my mind, I can't even figure out what happened or like who I was even sometimes. Like what? I'm just coming back to it. And so I finally find my way out, and they're kind of like, are you sure you're good to go? And I'm like, yeah, yes. I didn't know where the hell I was. I was in like Harborview Heights, and I'm like, I gotta make it downtown. I ain't got no map. I have no phone. And I just start walking. Like, I look to the ocean, and I can kind of see some of the buildings from the area that I lived in. I just start walking, and like, that must be the right way. I'll follow my intuition. So I just keep walking, and I come across this dude who literally looked like a troll. Like, he looked like a lawn gnome. And he, I was like, yo, do you got a cigarette? And he's like, yep, I rolled this one for you, especially this morning. So he gave me a rolly cigarette, and I keep on walking down the way. just like, my God, what happened? How am I find my way back? I'm such a disappointment to myself, my family, everybody, my roommate. I'm like, oh yeah, my roommate. So I finally kind of make it back downtown, and before I go to my like dormitory apartments, because I don't got my keys, I don't have anything to get back in, and I'm in like hospital garb with no shoes on. And I get back downtown to the spot that I jumped off this exit ramp and was running around naked. Basically had this near-death experience, and my roommate comes, Jake, what the hell happened to you last night, dude? And I was like, dude, I don't even know. And so he came back and he's like, here's your phone, here's your clothes. I gathered everything I could. And I'm super grateful for him for, doing that. And like being there to have my back, even though we didn't really get along and we were kind of like not really good friends. We'd try to be good buddies, he would look out for me, and I was just a madman. Like, I was so lost and so crazy and just almost living with a death wish. Like, I didn't care about nothing. I didn't care about my school, my job. I just was like, I'm in here to get a rock band, sex, drugs, rock and roll. That's all. And the vibe, the energies or something, just, I lost it. And so, that was my near-death experience. And you would think I would have stopped. You would think I would have stopped drinking alcohol, doing drugs. But no. I just kept doing drugs. Kept drinking. I wanted to forget about it. And I kept thinking, like, why did this happen? I felt almost special because it happened. And maybe I would, like, kind of flaunt the story, like, man, look, can you believe this happened to me? How cool. No, it's not cool. Like, that was psychotic. That was insane. I totally lost my mind. I'm lucky to be alive. And sometimes I'd look back on it and I would think, like, did I die? Did I come back to life and this was just, I'm in a different reality, a different realm, and this was my hell I'd have to go through? And, I don't know. And so I talked to my therapist about that type of stuff, of how I would wrestle with, is my life a dream or nightmare, or my reality some sort of heaven or hell? And, I studied these different ideas about life and what is life? Because I would think, like, my afterlife, like if I was reincarnated, wouldn't my afterlife be another life? Like, it's my death. I'm dead. My afterlife is just life after life. You know what I mean? So I'd be tripping on that stuff and just still searching for something. And a lot of times it was just like I was just searching for poison. I just wanted to forget about everything and intoxicate myself, drown my sorrows, and live in this kind of drug-addled state of mind where I was just like wrestling with God and my inner demons and really searching for a connection to God and like spirit guides or angels or aliens or Jesus Christ or the Buddha, Krishna, whatever any of these ascended masters could be, any sort of something. I was just searching for anything, and I was looking into it all because I just needed to know the truth. I needed to find some understanding. And be like, why did this happen? Like, I know I made this bad decision. What is it? Somehow for some sort of greater good, hopefully? Like, why did I live through this? Why am I still alive? Why couldn't I have just died? And it'd just be all over, and I wouldn't have to suffer any longer and figure it out and get a job that I hate while I'm like trying to find some sort of deeper meaning to life and be like, I want to forget about the deeper meaning. I don't want to think about none of that stuff. I just want to live life and watch TV and cartoons, and it's just like that's not life. I can't just do nothing. So then later in life I cleaned up a bit a bit. Found the love of my life, my wife, had kids, and still through all those years do drugs too, and hide, mainly psychedelic drugs. And you would think, again, why would you ever do that after you nearly killed yourself? And the reason why was it was such a powerful and profound experience that, again, I just wanted more. Maybe I just wanted to be closer and closer to death. I don't know. Maybe I just felt like there was more to understand, or I could go dive deeper into my mind, or further out of my mind. And that's when it also became like escapism, and the astral projection or transcendental meditation wasn't just about, clearing your mind and finding inner peace, but about escaping the harsh realities of life. And so, yeah, that's my story about my near-death experience from street acid and alcohol abuse. And now the thing is, too, about street acid, LSD, is like, I don't know if that was actually LSD. Of course, I like to think it was, but again, could have been some test chemicals, a bad batch, a strong batch, where it's like, I don't know, maybe they dropped one drop on there, maybe they accidentally dropped like 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't know. And that's just how it is. Somebody could have been all tripped out one night while they're like blottering things out, and they're like, whoops. I guess somebody's gonna have a good time. So, yeah, kids, adults out there, I do not recommend doing street drugs. I think that there is something that could be experienced if you do make those choices. Make sure and do it in a safe setting with a guide or a babysitter, some sort of a shaman or a doctor, or at least, somebody that's going to watch over you and not let you leave and go running crazy through the streets or operate a motor vehicle or nothing. But who's going to take my advice? I'm the type of guy that I would go get acid at the bar and perform live music and go do drugs at music festivals, and again, just run around crazy, lose my mind. And I'll save those stories for another video. I'll tell you though, I'm so grateful that I don't live that life anymore. And I make these videos. I've been really afraid to make these videos and tell my stories, and let me know if you want me to make cartoons about them, because I will do that. Check out Soulfire Tunes. I mainly do a lot of like hip-hop music videos, but I've been writing a lot of cartoons and storyboarding them, and I want to bring them to life. But again, I make these to hopefully, just to share the stories, entertain people, maybe help people not make the same poor decisions as me, or to find some sort of understanding or knowledge or inspiration from it all. And hopefully, maybe save some people like my kids from ever making these decisions, because I don't ever want them to do the things I've done and make the mistakes I've made. So I hope that other people can learn from my mistakes, because I really do care about people, and it took me a long time to care about myself and to take care of myself. And taking care of my family is my main responsibility. And with my runaway spirit, I wasn't always taking care of my responsibilities. I'll be selfish and, quit my job maybe because I have these grandiose ideas of myself and being God's special person or special creation. And I do believe that, we all could have a destiny and fate, and that, the God or whatever is beyond that created us all, if we're that spark of consciousness and connected to that ideally we do want to have a good life experience and hopefully some positive transformations. But it's all, to me, it's like trying to find redemption, lead me not into temptation, but deliver me from evil, and to make the good choices and be a good person, because sometimes those negative energies would take a hold of me. That's another reason why I quit drinking and doing these drugs, is because it was not doing any good for me. It was turning me into a monster, and it was just not good. So I hope y'all enjoyed this story and this podcast. I hope you enjoyed the different environment I got going on. I got some lights in the darkness, and I'm gonna keep doing more of these solo podcasts telling y'all stories, because truth is, I have tons of psychedelic experience stories, from LSD, mushrooms, DMT, even just marijuana, and tell you about my experiences with alcoholism, and even those other substances can be quite psychedelic too, like cocaine, ecstasy, amphetamines, Molly, sassafras, the test chemicals. I don't know. I was just, even the pills, opiates, psychotropics, like they alter you, they change you, and I'm not saying that drugs can't help you through life, but there is that one toke over the line. So if you're gonna ingest any substances, suggest you know what they are. Get them from a reliable source and physician, doctor. Go to therapy if you need to, psychiatrist. I'm working on all that stuff. I'm not trying to tell y'all what to do, but I've dealt with things like a savior complex, especially even after that near-death experience, where it's like, I just want to save myself. But I would externalize it and be like, I could save other people. Like, I would literally feel like Jesus at times, like feel like the second coming of Christ, and that I was born to awaken humanity and save people. And that's kind of not the most healthy thoughts to have. Maybe I can turn some people on to make some good choices, but really, I got also into all this esoteric stuff about the body, the mind, and the soul, and how it is a temple for the divine spirit and consciousness, the Holy Spirit. So I do believe that there's good within everybody, and there's good out there, and there's a lot of evil that is out there, and even within us, that we have that potential to feed our dark side or our light side. Living in this world of duality, I do this shadow work with myself and the therapist to just acknowledge the dark side of my personality and these aspects that I don't like and that I want to hide from the world. And I guess that's what I'm choosing to do now, is to share it with the world, kind of expose the parts of me that I didn't want to show or to admit are the truth, because I feel ashamed or guilty and embarrassed, humiliated by these choices. And I'm not doing this to like get recognition or clout or fame. Nothing like that. It's not like I have like a bunch of followers or subscribers, and who knows if people really listen all the way through. I hope I do connect with people, but I don't want to just have a quick connection and it's like here, there, gone. That dude's madman. I don't want to listen to him. I want to connect with people that do want to listen, and that there's a reason or a meaning behind what I'm doing, and that the energy and the time that I spend putting out there and getting these messages out, that they go to some sort of good use, or that they find the people they're supposed to find. Because if I could just speak to myself from the past, I would have said, hey man, don't do that. And I would trip on that all the time, especially when I would just keep eating acid, and I'd sit and meditate, eat like a whole 10 strip of acid, and, just try to like literally travel through time to my past and communicate with my past self and say, change your ways. You have to change. You're going to kill yourself. If you want to live a good life and you want to succeed, you need to stop. Just find the courage, reach out, pray. Prayer actually works. When I was trying to get off these substances, it was so hard to do myself. Other people would try to get me to quit, and I'm just such a rebel. I would never listen. I was like, dude, nah. Forget you. And ultimately, I wanted to quit, even though I couldn't quit. I'm just an addict. There's something about my personality and my character defect and this allergy in my brain that it's just like wants more. And it's never enough, is the thing. And it's always too much, though. And so, when I think back on, if I could have just done things different, and the regrets I have, and the resentment towards myself or others, and having to finally release that and find that inner peace and apologize to people and make amends and forgive others and forgive myself, really, for letting myself become such a monster that I never want to become. It was one of those things where it's like, I don't know if I should have done anything different, because I wouldn't have my wife and kids. And they mean everything to me. I love my kids so much. And that's why I had to get clean, too. I was like, dude, if I don't change, I don't want my kids to end up like me, because they just want to be like dad, And I don't want them to feel like they gotta run away or escape their reality through substances or whatever it may be. I just want to be there for them, take care of them, guide them to help make the right decisions, and even with my music, hopefully can get some of these messages transmuted through the music and cartoons and videos and podcasts. Because what else am I do? I do drywall, I work on houses, I got all sorts of other businesses, investments. But there's so many aspects to my personality. And that's something I'll have to deal with too, because I would disassociate from childhood traumas, from the traumas I induced on myself, and the traumas from the world, and how scary this world can be, and just the things that are out of my power, and I would just disassociate, and it kind of created this dissociative identity disorder where I didn't want to be myself. I hated myself, but at the same time I would love myself and think I was the greatest person on earth, or think that I was God, or Jesus, like I said, or even at times I'd think like I'm the devil, I'm making such the wrong choices, and I would just relish in it. I don't know, it's like maybe they're archetypes in our mind, and I would just sometimes I would become these things. I could be angelic or I could be hellish. And it's all about, like, what choice do I want to make? Who do I want to be? The good guy or the bad guy? Or the rad guy? Find that balance and be like, you know what? Like I said, there's this aspect of my personality over here. I got this devil on my shoulder trying to tell me, hey man, go drink that bottle of whiskey. Go do that cocaine. Forget about what your responsibilities, your job, and the things you love. Forget about that. You love to get fucked up. And then there's this other aspect of my personality. I got this angel on my shoulder. It's like, hey man, the things you really love, your wife, your kids, your family, your friends, you don't want to lose that. Don't go run away and don't drink that beer. Don't take that shot and go spend the rest of your night out at the bar, and don't go look for love and lust beyond your home. You don't have to search for fame and fortune to feel good about yourself. You don't have to feel power and influence all these other people to feel good about yourself. It took me a long time to just feel good about myself and to practice self-love. So these are some of the things maybe I learned from the near-death experience. I don't know. I still even wrestle with, like, going to church. Probably going to go to church here soon. I've been trying to read the Bible. And, because I'd say I read into all these different things, look into all these different religions, just searching for meaning and understanding. Even just different belief systems that aren't specifically, like, religious things, just different aspects of what reality or life could possibly be about. And, to no longer just feed my fascination with death, but to feed into how fascinating life is. And that life is a gift, and it can be taken away from us in the flick of a snap. And, stuff like that would lead me back down the rabbit hole. People I loved and cared about passing away. And they would die from substance abuse. People in my family that I have the same genetic makeup as, and I would follow down that same path, making the same choices. Be at a funeral, loaded, psychedelic drugs, and alcohol, and just, crying away or hiding the pain, hiding away, and just wallowing in my sorrows and wrestling with God and my inner demons and be like, why? Why is this all happening? And I don't know why. Maybe it's a constant search. All I know is that, like Gandhi said something like, you gotta become the change you wish to see in this world. And I want to make some positive changes in my life. And that's what I'm doing. So hopefully y'all dig this podcast. I'm going to quit rambling. I'm going to get back to my life, drinking the old kombucha and water. Stay tuned for more podcasts, because like I said, I have like hundreds of these psychedelic experiences, and they're all so profound about the adventures through the mind, out of the mind, in the astral world, or other like interdimensional beings you'd come across, or I don't even know what they'd be. Hallucinations, and shared hallucinations that I wouldn't just see them, the others would see them. These paranormal experiences, healing experiences, spiritual experiences, visions of heaven, visions of hell, moments of clarity and serenity and absolute peace and understanding in moments of chaos and just fury and adrenaline and aggression and just rage and losing control and then having to find control and balance again and just, I don't know. But if you want to hear more of these, let me know, because I literally have hundreds, and that's kind of sad to say, because I just couldn't stop. I just could not stop. Buy another 100 hits over and over again, buy another vial. Sometimes I'd just be giving them, especially as I got more well known as a musician and be playing concerts and music festivals, and people just give that to me. Having the Grateful Dead tattoo on my neck, this bolt, people just give me acid. And that's when the temptation is hard to say no, because it's like, I don't even have to search for it, I don't have to pay for it, it's just given to me. And it wouldn't just be given to me in like a little bit. It'd be like, I'd be like, I'm gonna get sober. And it would just show up. Temptation would show up and he'd be like, here's a whole grip of it. Full doses, micro doses. I'd be microdosing, putting things in, hiding away in my water bottles and little vials, little breath mint things, or little Visine things. I don't know why. It's just what you do when you're a drug addict. You just stash it all over the place because you never want to run out, and you always want to have like a little bit somewhere. And because you think if you can just get like a little bit of that substance or that molecule within your body, it'll make you feel okay. And at the same time, when I be loaded on these drugs and alcohol, it felt to me like a deal with the devil. Like, I'd be like, oh man, I sold my soul to this substance again. It's taking control of me. I'm losing my soul. And not only did it like feel like a deal with the devil, but I literally would feel like I made a deal with the devil. Like in past lives. And that's again why I have it called the XROADZ podcast, because I would feel literally like the crossroads in my own body. Like I felt like I was the crossroads. And that, all these people I came across, I would feel like I'm out there doing God's work or the devil's work, and then I gotta, connect with all these souls and touch these souls, or I would feel like I have these soul contracts within my own self, that I have like this duty that I was born with and I signed up for in the beyond, and that I have a mission on this planet, and it's like a spiritual mission, and that maybe there's like other different souls I gotta connect to and bring them somewhere in the other life. I don't know, it's craziness, it's like cult-ish vibes. And maybe it's where my fascination with cults and these spiritual leaders are, that always lead to some sort of greed and egotistic power, sex, drugs, and bad stuff. But, so I'd have to tame myself with the old sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I love rock and roll, I love sex, and I love drugs, and the thing is, I gotta just control it. Play some country music, play some folk, play some meditation music, and some good vibes, some tribal, shamanistic music, and find that peace, love, and harmony, you know what I mean? Even I get caught up in the hip-hop world, and tons of drugs there too. Even in the construction world, tons of drugs out there too. They're all over the place. I'm sure they're in the schools, the churches, the government. There's temptation all around. Like I said, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the strength to change the things I can. I don't even remember. It's been so hard for me to even remember prayers and the serenity prayer. But before I end this podcast, that's what I'm gonna leave it with. And I'm ashamed that I even gotta look it up. O God and Heavenly Father, grant to us the serenity of mind to accept that which cannot be changed, courage to change that which can be changed, and the wisdom to know one from the other. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Yeah, there's some simpler forms, of course, like grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So yeah, I mean, I wish you all the best. Peace and love. I hope that if you're out there struggling, that your struggles come to an end and you find that success. And that if you're dealing with addiction or mental health issues, don't be afraid to hit that number. I think it's like they got a new number for it. Suicide hotline. It's no longer just like a 1-800 number. It's dial 988. Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And you can get set up with a, probably like mental health specialist, and there's somebody on that other line to help you. Reach out to me. Send me a message. And just say, hey man, I'm going through a hard time, and I'll respond back to you, because I'm not out there getting loaded anymore. I'm taking care of my family and just working and creating content from the home studio. Maybe one day I'll get back out on the road and tour, travel around, but I get anxiety about all that stuff because it's a dangerous world, and I don't like to be away from my family. I want to be here to protect them, and sometimes I worry that there's people out there that maybe they don't want you to get your messages across. Maybe it's just my paranoia. Maybe it's just my imagination. But again, that's where my anxiety would not just be like, I have anxiety to go to the grocery store or to go talk to a client or a boss. No, it'd be anxiety like I made a deal with the devil and the devil's coming for my soul, and that I'm not worthy of God's love, and that there's bad things coming back to me, and all the wrong I've done, my karma's going to catch up with me. Even though I've been trying to make the right choices, I might have made a bad choice years ago that's going to finally catch up to me, or maybe I made a bad choice in past lives that are going to affect me in this life. I don't know. All I know is I can make the changes now to do good. So hopefully I've done good with this story and didn't keep y'all too bored. Anyways, if you have some experiences you'd like to share on the podcast, feel free to send me a message or comment that you would like to chat through like a Zoom chat and record it and share it on the podcast. So, thanks for tuning in to another Crossroads podcast, number 61. And I'll talk to you again soon with another super far out story. And love y'all. Take care. Don't be afraid to reach out.